In this video, we're going to look at standard form in science. In science, we use standard form to easily manage very large or very small numbers. And there's a real reason to use that in science, as you can see from the screen here. For example, we've got really small numbers such as the mass of the electron is 9.11 times 10 to the minus 31 kilograms. That would be very laborious to write out as a full number. The sun emits a power output of 3.8 times 10 to 26 watts. Again, that's a really large number that's very difficult to write out. And also you've got other small numbers, such as the charge of the electron being 1.6 times 10 to the minus 19 coulombs. So by using standard form, that helps us write these numbers more easily and saves us time. On the screen now, I'm displaying the standard form notation. So where we usually start here is at 1, and that would be 1 times 10 to the 0 is how we write that in standard form. We don't tend to use standard form for these sorts of middle numbers here, but we tend to use it as we go further up. If we had 10, for example, going away from 1, so we times 1 by 10, we get 10. That'd be 1 times 10 to the 1 in standard form. If we times it by 10 again, we get up to 100. That's 1 times 10 to the 2. If we go to 1,000, that's 1 times 10 to the 3, and so on and so forth. So 10,000 will be 1 times 10 to the 4. If we go in the opposite direction, divide by 10 from 1, so we do 1 divided by 10, we get 0.1, and we'd write that as 1 times 10 to the minus 1. Divide by 10 again, we get 0.01, which we'd write as 1 times 10 to the minus 2, and we can keep going down like that to have 1 times 10 to the minus 3, 1 times 10 to the minus 4. For the numbers that we see on the screen there, there's not always a need to use standard form, but as we get into larger numbers, it becomes much more meaningful. So we're going to look at how you'll be assessed on this principle in the exam. So you can see on the screen now we've got a question from an exam that says the fossil fungus is estimated to be 890 million years old, and it wants you to write 890 million in standard form. Hopefully you've got a copy of the workbook with you so you can mark your work on there. If not, can you just go through this with me as we go now? And so what we want to do, first of all, we want to try and work out how many times we've multiplied this number by 10, which is essentially how many times we have to move forward through the number past each of the zeros. So what we're going to do here is just going to go through that process. So I've just written the number on there to make it larger for us. So we're starting with our decimal place here. I'm going to move this along then. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we multiply by 10 8 times, so that would give us the answer of 8.9 times 10 to the 8. And that will be worth 1 mark in the exam. So now I'm going to look at another example of a standard form question in the exam. So you can see on the screen here we've got this one. Again, you should hopefully have this in your pack. It tells you that 1,600,000 babies in the UK use disposable nappies. And it tells you that each baby uses 5 nappies in 1 day. And it wants you to calculate the total number of disposable nappies used in 1 day and give your answer in standard form. So first thing to do is highlight how many babies we've got. So if we can look at the screen here, we've got 1,600,000 babies, and we're using 5 nappies per day. So we're going to take our numbers here, and we're going to do the 1,600,000 multiplied by 5. You can just do that on your calculator, and that would give you an answer of 8 million. Now, to put that in standard form, again, we're just going to go through and count those values. It might be calculator just gives you the answer in standard form, which you just need to write it then. But looking here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that would be 8 times 10 to the 6 nappies. This will be worth 2 marks in the exam. You get 1 mark for your work in here and 1 mark for the final answer being in standard form there. Okay, so now we're going to look at an example which involves using calculations where the numbers are given to you in standard form. In this question, it says find the frequency of light with a wavelength of 7.0 times 10 to the minus 7 meters if the speed of light is 3 times 10 to the 8 meters per second. So I'm just going to run through this question with you now. The first thing that you need to do is you need to highlight what you know in the question. So on the screen now, I've highlighted those things. So I've put the idea that my wave speed is going to be 3 times 10 to the 8 meters per second, and my wavelength is equal to 7.0 times 10 to the minus 7 meters. So I've wrote those down and highlighted the colours. I'm just going to put those numbers into the equation now. So putting the numbers into the equation, I've got 3 times 10 to the 8 is equal to frequency times 7 times 10 to the minus 7. I'm then going to put that into my calculator. Now to do that, I'm going to use this function here. So I'm going to write 3.0 times 10 rather than writing times 10 to the 8, I'm going to put 3.0, then press this button, and then just put an 8 after it. So I can write type 3, use the times 10 to the power button, then put the 8. I'd then click divide, and then put the 7, use the times 10 button again, and then put the negative here, 7 there. And that will put that into my calculator for me. We can then put those numbers into the calculator and find our answer. Now with this, it will give us a really long answer if we do this calculation. So we've done 3 times 10 to the 8 over 7 times 10 to the minus 7. And we get 4.285714286 times 10 to the 14. Okay, and we can then just simplify that to be 4.3 by rounding up times 10 to the 14 hertz. In terms of the exam, where would you get the marks for this question? Well, you get a mark for first of all, substituting your numbers in. You get a mark for the correct rearrangement, a mark for the correct answer, and a mark for the correct units. So that's out of 4 there. So can you please mark your work there? Okay, so that's us gone through standard form there. You've now got some questions to attempt by yourself. I hope you found this video useful. I look forward to working with you again next time. Thank you and goodbye.